One of the most defining features that determine a successful product or service is whether people know that it exists. More importantly, whether the right people know that it exists. And with the advent of AI, the process of finding those right people has become easier for those who are willing to take the shot. I've spent over half a decade in the AI business and engineering spaces. And today, I'll go over a system that I've built to find out who your ideal customer or clients are so that you don't end up with nothing but dirt where you're digging for gold. At the end, I'll be giving away this system so that you yourselves can try it out to pinpoint exactly who your ideal client is. So let's get to it, shall we? So it's no big secret that for any business to be successful, you have to know who you want to be serving ideally. Because if you take anybody who walks in through the door, as the old saying goes, all you need is a pulse and a credit card. In the short term, that could mean something. But in the long term, you'll only get a bunch of people who won't stay or appreciate your service or what you have to offer. And that's why knowing your ideal client profile is so important. If you know who you want to serve, then you can let them know that you exist. And this isn't just me spouting nonsense. Knowing exactly who you're going to serve has shown over and over and over again in multiple studies to provide a significantly greater benefit than not knowing. It's practically common sense. Studies show that 56% of companies have generated higher quality leads using buyer personas. They also show that those same companies can achieve a 2 times more ROI on their advertisements, or even a 5 times higher email click-through rate. And it's not just the companies. Even the buyers themselves were 48% more likely to consider solution providers that personalize their marketing to address their specific pain points. In other words, if you know who you want to serve, then it will be leagues easier to get them to walk in through the door. On top of that, you waste significantly less time having to deal with people who can't meet the standards of your ideal. I mean, if we really think about it, if you open up something like a authentic Mexican restaurant, you wouldn't want your waiters to have to deal with somebody who wants a pizza. It's the whole point of figuring out who you want to serve. Because all in all, it is just so much easier compared to trying to serve everyone. Because if you have 2 to 3 profiles that are solid, you can just focus on giving those people the exact product or service that would give them the most value. Because if you end up trying to serve everybody, you'll end up serving no one. The result. Top of that, it would mean that you would remain consistent in all your messaging, no matter which platform or which form of media that you decide to use. Not even that crazy to think about, because even bigger companies typically cite that 3 to 4 personas are only responsible for 90% of the results that they achieve in terms of revenue. So think of it like, instead of opening gym that caters to athletes, to crossfitters, to track runners, bodybuilders, to powerlifters, focus on 1 to 2 of these guys, like bodybuilders and athletes, and make that gym best possible option for them to pick out of all possible options out there. Get it? I say all this, but it's easier said than done. Because if it was, then everyone would do it. But that's not reality, because this does in fact take a lot of research to do it right. Which is why people typically tend to guess. You use vague assumptions, just go completely broad and hope for the best, because they have no data. Again, in the long term, this will not work. Think about Netflix for the example. Do they recommend random movies to you every single time you open the app? One's tailored for your specific viewing habits. Now comes the good news. The advent of AI, it has become significantly easier to figure out who your ideal client is if you know how to do it right. Luckily for you, I spent a ton of time figuring out exactly how to do that. And I've built out an AI prompt that can analyze data, behaviors, and patterns better than can find out exactly who your ideal client is without having to spend hours of time or capital to figure it out yourselves, instead than just telling you about it. How about I show you? Okay, and here is the prompt, or as I better like to call it, the system of how you can use AI to figure out who your ideal customer or ideal clients are. And as you can see, it is pretty beefy and pretty in depth. And there is a point to this because depending on the level of depth and how specialized the task is that you want the AI to do using your system, you will have to provide it with clear instructions. On top of that, you will have to understand on a fundamental level what it is that you actually want to automate with the AI. Because if you don't, it can essentially just become like a black box. You don't know what's right, you don't know what's wrong, you just know that it's there. And when anything breaks, then if it's a major part of any one of your operations, then the whole thing comes crashing down. Which is why I believe if you're going to automate anything, you have to at least have a fundamental understanding of what that thing is to begin with. And on top of that, this is more of an advanced version, which is why I don't necessarily call it a prompt. I call it more of a system because it forms the skeleton or the basis or the foundation of what is needed to create full-on AI bots. But in this sense, it can also be used just like a prompt nonetheless. And it can also be as complex as this or as simple as one of the previous videos I made where I went over a simple framework that you can use to generate prompts to get AIs to respond to you in a clear and tailored manner. But I digress. Let's focus on this right now. And the process is you just need to simply copy all of this as you would a piece of text, go into your AI of choice, be it ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, DeepSeek, what have you, and then run the system and get the results that you are looking for. So let's go ahead and demonstrate this with an example. So to demonstrate, we're going to be using ChatGPT as a basis. And again, like I said before, all you need to do is just copy and paste the system into a new chat and just send it through. And what will happen is that I will now take this system and internalize it into itself and then come back at you, responding in such a manner as to emulate, as to become what the system tells it to become for its particular purpose. So let's send it through and see what we get. And there you have it. It's gone ahead and thought for a bit and then come at us with an output where it now begins to emulate what the system tells it to become. So in this case, it will ask us a bunch of questions so it can better understand us, the product, the brand, the business, whatever it is. And the reason why it asks so many questions is that I try to make this as useful as possible to as many people as possible. So it's a bit more generalized. And the trade-off with it being more generalized rather than specialized for one specific group or one specific person or one specific product or business is that you will have to give it a lot more information on hand for it to understand your needs and what it is that you want. So let's take the example of a landscaping business for the purposes of this demo. And I'm just going to go ahead and answer these questions so you don't have to sit through it all and send it through so you guys can just see the results. Okay, so I've gone through and answered all the questions. So let's send it in and see what we get. And there you have it. The AI has taken in all the information that we gave it. and used it on top of its own data and research to create our ideal client profile so that we understand who our client or customers are, and we can perfect and tailor our messaging so that we can get more of them through the door. So just going through it and see, it gave us a full executive summary, summarizing on the information that we gave it. You can see that it gives us the business context, and then it goes ahead and gives us full-on ideal client profile, starting with the demographic, the psychographic, and the behavioral patterns, and even pointing out the exact customer journey map that our ideal client would go through. That way we can take a pick and see what gaps there may be in our current roadmap. Then on top of that, it gives us our marketing positioning, stating what our strengths are and what we should double down on based off the information and business context that we gave it. And with that, it ends it off with its strategic recommendations for us and how we can better position ourselves to serve and get more of who our ideal customer or clients are through the door. And then lastly, it cites the sources and its limitations that it may have, giving us a clear picture of who it is that we are serving. That way, we don't have to rack our brain trying to figure it out ourselves. We know who you want. So now all that's left to do is go ahead and help them. So try it out. And just like that, you know exactly who it is that you should target, how they act, and how to target them all in one. And in a nutshell, most products or services don't fail because they're necessarily bad, but because they lack the clarity of who it is that they should be serving. And as promised, if you want this same level of clarity, I've gone ahead and left this exact AI prompt that you can find in the description so that you can take that first simple step to clarify who your ideal client is or customer once and for all. So until next time, I'm in your corner and I am rooting for you.